Please welcome the Dean of the College of Agricultural Sciences, Dr. Craig Beyrouty.
Well, first of all, let's give the voice of God a round of applause as well. I don't know who he is, but he's great. My name is Craig Beyrouty. I'm Dean of the College of Agricultural Sciences, and on behalf of the faculty and the staff and the students here at Colorado State University, I want to welcome each and every one of you to the campus of CSU. If you've never been here before, hopefully you'll have an opportunity to walk around campus, get a bird's eye view of the arrangement of the buildings, maybe meet some of the faculty. There might be a student or two around here as well. We are here during spring break. But it's an exciting environment, and it's one that we're excited to bring you all together around this whole area of innovation. We're going to talk about innovation today. We're going to talk a little bit about what led us to where we are today in terms of talking about innovation and all the different parameters associated with that. We're also going to be interacting with many very, very bright, intelligent, passionate people who are developing innovative ways of advancing agriculture in all of its different parameters and all of its different sectors as well. And when we talk about agriculture, we're really talking about the broad-based food system, all the things that are associated with the value chain, with the supply chain, from production all the way to consumption and everything in between as well. One of the objectives we have today is to really begin connecting individuals that might not actually see that they're connected to the food system or to agriculture, and begin developing and enhancing that level of dialogue as well. So it's an exciting day, actually day and a half. Yesterday we really primed the pump. We started out with a roundtable discussion that brought 20 or so thought leaders really from around the world to talk about the future of agriculture and what some of the challenges are. And how we might actually address those challenges. We had roughly, about 130 to 140 people that were in that room. The audience was fully engaged, and we hope that you'll be equally engaged today and tomorrow as we venture down through this journey of innovation as well. We also talked about climate smart agriculture. We talked a little bit about big data as well. So those were discussions that we had really to begin the process, to get our intellectual juices really beginning to flow. And then move in today and tomorrow as well. Before we continue on, and I've got a couple of individuals that I do want to introduce, any of our undergraduate and graduate students, if you would raise your hands. We've got several here. Let's give them a round of applause. We're excited that our students can participate, certainly at spring break, and for those students who are able to be here, number one, they're involved in innovation. Number two, they're interested in learning about the process of innovation, how one takes an idea and brings it all the way to reality as well. And they are certainly going to be our future innovators and are part of our succession plan for agriculture. I'd also like to recognize the St. Vrain Innovation Center and those individuals that are represented, I think, in the back room. If you raise your hand as well. That's Innovation Center that I didn't even realize existed up until actually the National Western Stock Show. And they had a display there. It's K through 12. They actually have a booth next door as well. You'll learn a little bit about that as well. So they're teaching innovation at the elementary and high school level, and that's exciting as well. And they're our guest today as well. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Mike Martin. Dr. Martin has over 40 years of experience and a commitment to public higher education, both as a faculty member and an administrator. He currently serves as Chancellor Emeritus and Senior Fellow of the Colorado State University System. He has also served as Chancellor of Louisiana State University, the President of New Mexico State University, the Senior Vice President at the University of Florida, and Dean at the University of Minnesota. For 15 years, he was a faculty member at Oregon State University. Mike earned bachelor's and master's degrees from Minnesota State University in Mankato and a PhD from the University of Minnesota in applied economics. Throughout his career, Dr. Martin has sought to advance knowledge, serve students, and engage citizens and communities. He's currently working with others to extend and expand the land-grant mission to meet 21st century needs. Mike, come on up.
Thank you, Craig. Thanks, Dean. Every time I hear that, I both feel like I'm incredibly old and I'm a migrant academic worker. But thank you nonetheless. And on behalf of all of us who care about this sector and this institution and land-grant universities, welcome and appreciate being here. As Craig suggested, I've been a dean and a vice president and a 15-year faculty member in a College of Ag Sciences. And this is sort of for me like coming home. It's talking about things I've cared about for a long time. Let me acknowledge a few people that I know have done a lot to make this happen and will continue to make it happen. Lou Swanson is here somewhere. Lou leads the engagement effort across the state of Colorado. Cathay Reynolds, who you're going to hear from her later, and particularly Greg Graff. Greg and I were talking earlier, and he has done the work to help define, I think, the issues and the parameters around the ag cluster. And it's particularly important, I think, in Colorado that we continue to remind people that this is a very, very core part of the state's past and certainly a core part of its future. I'm reminded constantly, and I was reminded yet again the other day, about the ongoing challenges of innovation within agriculture in America. I read a report from the Department of Agriculture to the President that argued there were three great challenges we had to continue to work on. One, we had to continue to protect our scarce and fragile resources, particularly soil and water. Two, we needed to capture more value added in agriculture close to the communities that produce the raw material. And three, we had to ensure that our trading partners treated us fairly in world markets. That was a report from then Commissioner of Agriculture, George B. Loring, to then President Chester Arthur in 1883. So we know that this stuff comes around. The great benefit from that report, however, is that it spawned a great institutional innovation, which was the Hatch Act of 1887, and that gave land-grant universities the authority and the power and the responsibility to, quote, do research and experimentation in the public interest and focus it on agriculture and the food sector and natural resources. So we're back in some respects where we started, but we have the capacity to make a difference. And I'm going to be very brief, but I'm going to make an argument I've been making for a number of years in writing and in various speeches like this, that we have now entered what I would argue is the sixth era of agricultural development in America. The first era was exploitation, where we used slaves to basically exploit resources to support Europe. The second era was expansion, when we greatly expanded the land mass in agriculture through the Homestead Act. The third era was mechanization, where we began to replace labor with, as it moved to urban areas and fought wars, to replace labor. The fourth era was chemistry, and the ways in which we could improve yield per acre through chemistry. The fifth era was biology, in which we actually began to change the organisms to better fit, and I believe we're now in what I would call the confluence era. The coming together of four great factors: biotechnology, remote sensing technology, digital technology, and database driven management. And that's the era I believe we are now innovating in, and that's why a conference like this, at least to me, is so significant as we think about how we bring together a variety of new ways and some old ways to approach the food and agricultural sector through new and important innovations. So I congratulate Dean and everyone who organized this. I hope we can continue to do this, and I hope I can continue to be a cheerleader and not a migrant worker in academia as it continues. So thank you very much. Thanks, Dean Beyrouty. Appreciate it enormously.
Give it a time. Mike, thanks. So the next person I'm going to introduce is Tony Frank, and Tony serves as our president at CSU and also the interim chancellor. Tony, as well as Mike, is a scholar of the land-grant system and understands the history and the importance that it brings to a university like Colorado State University, and I suspect he'll probably visit a little bit about that as well. Colorado State University, you know, we have roughly about 29,000 students here. We have a research enterprise upwards of well over $300 million. Much of that has occurred as a result of Tony's leadership since he's been in his role as president. Since his appointment, he's overseen a period of record fundraising, certainly record enrollment, rising graduation rates, and unprecedented research support. Among his top priorities as president has been to forge strategic partnerships with other private and public sector entities to benefit the students of CSU, the people of Colorado, and the university's research and outreach mission. As a result of this focus, Colorado State has significantly expanded its international engagement, launched groundbreaking collaborations with a number of public and private entities, certainly with the National Western Stock Show, and begun development of its first international campus in Todos Santos, Mexico. Tony?
For being here at Colorado State University this morning. I do often talk about the Land-Grant Act, but when I follow Mike Martin, I don't, because Mike can quote the entire Land-Grant Act, and it just makes me look silly to try that. So I do want to thank Mike for his services as not only the Chancellor of the CSU system, where he did a great job for us, but also his service to Land-Grant University is over 4 decades of an incredible career. Please join me in giving Mike a round of applause. And I also want to recognize Joe Blake, who was my first boss as Chancellor of the CSU system, who's here with us today. Many of you know Joe from Denver, a tremendous asset to our entire state. Joe Blake, welcome. So Mike mentioned thanking Greg Graff, which you'll hear more from Greg and his research. That's been important here. He thanked Lou Swanson, our VP for engagement, and Lou does important work. I want to particularly also thank Cathay Reynolds. Cathay has a job where she manages to make Lou and I look effective, and that is a Herculean effort. So I think that deserves recognition. And then as well, I want to make sure that we highlight a couple of our alums who we're very proud of. John Stolp, who heads the state's water efforts, is here with us, and Don Brown, our new Commissioner of Agriculture. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for your service. So when we talk about agriculture in Colorado and in the West, we tend to get a little poetic about it, and not unjustifiably. We tend to talk about herds of cattle and fields of grain. We talk about blue skies and clear rushing streams. We talk about the heritage of the American West. But we're not here today because agriculture is a great tradition in the state of Colorado. It is a great tradition in the state of Colorado, but we're here today because of what the future holds. We're here today because agriculture represents a major driver in the state, national, and international economy. We know that agriculture has grown at a pace 2 to 4 times faster than the rest of the economic sectors in the state as we've come out of the recession. We know that the state of Colorado has been ranked 2nd as a state in the country in innovation and 5th in entrepreneurship. We know from Greg Graff's research that this state is capable of fostering success in any industry or economic sector that focuses on innovation and entrepreneurship. And as one of the leading drivers of agriculture innovation in the state of economy in the state of Colorado, Colorado State University is incredibly proud to help host this summit. Now, you're here not to hear more from people like me about what we're going to talk about, but those actual things. So it's my pleasure to ask Craig and Cathay to come back up and get us kicked off with this conversation this morning about the importance of the innovation economy and agriculture to the state of Colorado. Thank you all for being here.